Aethra Prime's throne hall was carved from living crystal, its walls humming softly with ancient energy. For centuries, the Aethrani had ruled their sector through strength alone. They were tall, scaled beings of sharp minds and sharper claws. Weakness was a crime among them, especially weakness in royalty. And yet Princess Seralith stood trembling at her father's side. She was smaller than others of her kind, her scales pale and thin, her limbs lacking the dense muscle Aethrani warriors prized. From birth, she had been labeled unviable. She could not survive the combat trials, could not wield plasma blades, could not endure the neural link of warships. Every noble house knew it. The Zarkeen Empire knew it too. When the Zarkeen war fleets darkened the outer systems, King Valor understood the truth his generals refused to say aloud. Aethra Prime would fall. Their shields were strong, their soldiers fierce, but the Zarkeen adapted faster than any species they had faced. Desperation drove Valor to an unthinkable alliance. Humans. They were newcomers to the galactic stage. Short-lived, physically fragile by Aethrani standards, and yet terrifying. Humans survived wars that should have erased them. They adapted. They learned. And when pushed to extinction, they fought like cornered gods. So the king made an offer no Aethrani ruler ever had. He summoned a single human envoy, Commander Elias Ward. Elias stood alone in the throne hall, wearing simple combat fatigues instead of ceremonial armor. He looked around with curious eyes rather than fear. That, more than anything, unsettled the court. "My daughter," King Valor said, his voice echoing, "is a weakness to my people. To you, she may be acceptable." A murmur rippled through the hall. Seralith's breath caught. "She will go with you," the king continued, each word heavy with shame and resolve. "In exchange, humanity will stand with us against the Zarkeen." Elias's jaw tightened. "You're offering your child as a political bargain." "I am offering her life," Valor replied quietly. "Here, she will die by blade, by custom, or by invasion." Seralith looked up at the human. She expected disgust, pity. Instead, she saw anger. "She's not cargo," Elias said. "If she comes, it's by her choice." All eyes turned to Seralith. Her entire life had been decided for her by doctors, generals, and traditions older than memory. She straightened, forcing strength into her shaking legs. "I will go," she said softly, "if only to live." That was how the weak princess left her world. Earth was nothing like Aethra Prime. It was loud, chaotic, alive in ways Seralith had never imagined. Humans moved constantly, spoke freely, even to those above them. Elias did not assign her guards or confine her quarters. Instead, he asked what she wanted. No one had ever asked her that before. At first, her body failed her. Gravity training left her exhausted. Human food made her ill. Some officers whispered that the alien girl would not last a month. Elias ignored them. He arranged physical therapy, adaptive training, medical support not to discard weakness, but to strengthen around it. Humans did not throw away broken tools. They rebuilt them. Seralith trained with soldiers who fell, bled, and laughed while doing so. They taught her techniques that relied on leverage, balance, and endurance rather than brute force. They taught her strategy, how to think 3 steps ahead, how to turn an enemy's strength against them. Most importantly, they taught her something alien to Aethrani culture. Failure was not shame. It was information. Months turned into years. Seralith's scales darkened, hardened. Her movements grew precise. She learned to pilot human strike craft, to command squads of mixed species. When she collapsed, humans picked her up. When she doubted herself, they reminded her why she stood. By the time the Zarkeen launched their final invasion, Seralith was no longer a fragile princess. She was a soldier. The battle for Ithra Prime burned across the stars. Zarkeen war forms shattered orbital defenses. Ithrani fleets bled in vacuum. King Valor watched from his command dais as extinction loomed. Then human ships arrived. They did not form elegant battle lines. They plunged into chaos, drawing fire, sacrificing hulls to open paths. Drop pods rained onto the surface like meteors. Among them was one vessel broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Commander Seralith of the Ithrani." The voice rang out, strong, steady. "All ground forces, follow my signal." Valor froze. The holo display shifted, revealing a figure clad in hybrid armor, Ithrani crystal fused with human alloys. She moved through Zarkeen ranks like a storm, issuing commands, adapting tactics mid-fight. His daughter. Not hiding behind warriors. Leading them. When a Zarkeen warlord cornered her, towering and lethal, the court gasped. Seralith did not overpower it. She outthought it, lured it into overextending, used its mass against it, and ended the fight with a single, decisive strike. The Zarkeen broke. By the time the smoke cleared, Ithra Prime still stood. Seralith returned to the throne hall not as an offering, but as a victor. She knelt before her father, armor scarred, eyes unafraid. "I was weak," she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "Not because my body failed me, but because my world did." Valor descended the steps, his pride stripped bare. Before all nobles, all warriors, he bowed to his daughter. "You were given away," he said, "and you returned, go warrior." Seralith rose and extended a hand, not in dominance, but unity. "The humans did not save me," she said. "They taught me how to save myself." From that day forward, Ithrani law changed. Strength was no longer measured by birth or brutality, but by resilience. And across the galaxy, a new truth spread like wildfire. Never judge humanity by what they appear to lack. Because when they choose to build instead of break, they forge legends. She stood as War Queen of Ithra, not crowned by tradition, but by unanimous will. The same nobles who once whispered unviable now stood silent when she entered the hall. Her presence alone commanded respect, not because of fear, but because every soldier knew she had bled beside them. Under her rule, Ithrani society transformed. Children once deemed weak were no longer culled or cast aside. They were trained differently. Thinkers, tacticians, engineers, healers, roles once dismissed as secondary were elevated to equal honor. The Ithrani became stronger not by purging weakness, but by embracing diversity of strength. And humanity? They never asked for tribute. Instead, they built academies alongside Ithrani cities. Mixed species units became common. Humans served under Ithrani commanders and Ithrani under human ones. The alliance held, not through fear or obligation, but trust earned in shared fire. On a quiet evening, Seralith stood on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt capital. Elias Ward stood beside her. Older now, his uniform worn but familiar. "You ever regret coming with me?" he asked. Seralith watched young recruits spar in the distance, some strong, some small, all determined.
"No," she said.
"You didn't turn me into something else." She met his eyes. "You reminded me that I was never broken." Across the stars, the story spread, from human colonies to ancient alien empires. A king once gave away his weakest daughter to survive. Humanity gave her a chance. And she returned a warrior, not forged by cruelty, but by belief. And that, the galaxy learned, was humanity's greatest weapon of all.